Schoolgirl Aohorie is embarrassed to share the origin of her name, because the last time she revealed her name to her class they made fun of her. Ao's misfortune stems from her father, who named her after his questionable works. Now a high schooler, Ao keeps a low profile, and is obsessed with studying to escape her father's legacy, and quickly get into university. However, one day her classmate Takumi Kijima approaches Ao about her impressive grades. Feeling like they exist in separate worlds, she swiftly leaves the classroom and heads home. The next day at school, the teacher asks Ao to check on Takumi's sprained ankle and hands her a new uniform for him to wear. Ao goes to see him but overhears a conversation between Takumi and his friend Masaki Yuhara, causing Takumi to leave the room. Ao approaches Takumi and gives him the uniform, but unfortunately Ao's father Hanasaki appears and startles Ao. She tries to prevent him from doing anything inappropriate, but fails. Ao tries to return to her studying to avoid the influence of her father, which resulted in her having a dirty mind. But everything changes when Takumi covers Ao with the uniform and confesses his feelings to her. The next day Ao's mind is preoccupied with Takumi's confession. As she contemplates, Takumi approaches and startles her. She tries to distract herself by wearing a different uniform to school, but she draws a comment from Masaki. Feeling embarrassed, Ao hastily leaves the classroom. Takumi seeks her out and suggests they skip class to grab a meal together. During their time together, Ao harbors a desire to touch Takumi while he sleeps, but he misinterprets her intention, believing she wants to hold his hand. Inquiring about Ao's response to his confession, Takumi encourages her not to outright reject him and to take time to consider it. Ao's father Hanasaki approaches Ao, inquiring about Takumi and offering advice that Ao doesn't particularly appreciate. Back at school, Ao attempts to study but finds herself engrossed in one of Hanasaki's dirty novels, disguised as a school book. In an attempt to retrieve it from Takumi, whom she mistakenly believes possesses it, she proposes they study together. However, Takumi actually possesses a genuine school book while Ao unknowingly holds the novel. In a fluster, she flees the scene. During a school field trip, Ao unexpectedly crosses paths with Takumi at the inn, causing some of her classmates to inquire about him. As fate would have it, Ao finds herself in Takumi's room, accompanied by Masaki and Shuhei Yonezuka, Takumi's friend. Inside the room, a closet door gets stuck, catching Takumi's attention. He attempts to close it, while Masaki and Shuhei express their desire for beverages. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Takumi, Ao is hiding within the closet. As he reaches in, his hand accidentally brushes against her head, resulting in an embarrassing tumble with Ao falling on top of him. Just as this awkward moment unfolds, Takumi's friends and Ao's classmates unexpectedly arrive at the scene. Feeling the urge to escape, Ao suggests they all partake in a test of courage at a nearby shrine. To her surprise, she ends up paired with Takumi for the activity. Ao experiences a nightmarish dream revolving around her name, only to wake up and find Hanasaki eager to deliver a letter from an unknown sender. Curiosity getting the better of her, she opens the letter and is confronted with a sight that shatters her heart: Takumi sleeping beside another girl. At school, amidst a soccer practice match, Ao yearns to confront Takumi and unravel the mystery behind the girl in the photo. However, their classmates cheer for Takumi, and he greets them warmly. Sensing the opportunity slipping away, Ao overhears conversations about Takumi attending a mixer. Overwhelmed by emotions, she flees to seek solace in a nearby cafe. To her astonishment, the very girl from the photo appears before Ao, triggering a flood of memories. She recognizes her as Miyabi Takeoka, an old kindergarten classmate of Ao. Later, Takumi approaches Ao to discuss the mixer and Miyabi's involvement. At the park, Hanasaki catches sight of Takumi and Miyabi embarking on a romantic outing, which leads them to a haunted house. Meanwhile, Ao inadvertently becomes separated from her father, but her despair turns to relief as Takumi finds her and guides her out of the park. As night falls, Takumi and Miyabi's date continues. Driven by a mix of curiosity and heartache, Ao covertly trails them, ultimately finding herself outside a love hotel, bearing witness to a scene that intensifies her emotional turmoil. Ao catches sight of Takumi and Miyabi heading towards a hotel, but the overwhelming emotions cause her to faint. In a stroke of serendipity, Takumi comes to her aid, carrying her to her room and tending to her until she regains consciousness. Determined to clarify the situation, Takumi reveals the truth to Ao. He explains that the hotel doesn't allow high school students, and Miyabi had actually run away from him. Furthermore, Takumi confides in Ao, admitting that he is a virgin. However, Ao misinterprets his words, assuming he says the same to other girls he likes, leading her to abruptly leave. The next day at school, Takumi attempts to avoid Ao, but Masaki approaches her, inquiring about Takumi's homework and suggesting they work on it together. During a cafe encounter, Takumi opens up to Ao about a question he struggles with. Little does he know, the study book he refers to is actually one of Hanasaki's novels. They walk home together, and Takumi, in his curiosity, questions Ao about the concept of being a couple and whether it would be their first time. Startled by his inquiry, Ao grows apprehensive and decides to seek out Miyabi for answers. At home, Hanasaki finds himself in a creative slump, struggling to come up with new ideas for his novels. In a bid to seek inspiration, Sachiro Yabe, his editor, suggests they all go to a festival, accompanied by Ao. They hope to find some valuable insights to spark Hanasaki's imagination. At the bustling festival, amidst the lively atmosphere, Ao unintentionally becomes separated from the group and stumbles upon Takumi and Miyabi, who are working at one of the stalls. Sachiro locates Ao and introduces himself as Hanasaki's university friend, carefully concealing his true role as Hanasaki's editor. Takumi raises an eyebrow, feeling that Sachiro seems rather close to Ao's family, but Miyabi swiftly intervenes and pulls Takumi away, urging him to focus on their work instead. During his break, Takumi finds Ao and seizes the opportunity to inquire about Sachiro. Simultaneously, he sets off to search for her, ensuring her safekeeping. Takumi takes Ao away from Sachiro's presence, assuring him that she will return home later. Meanwhile, Takumi still waits for Ao's answer to his confession. During a school day, Ao faces the daunting task of taking a practice entrance exam for universities. Unfortunately, her results yield a failing grade, leaving her disheartened. Determined to improve, she decides to study by the beach, seeking solace in its serene ambience. As fate would have it, Takumi, Miyabi, and Masaki unexpectedly appear at the beach. Despite their presence, Ao initially tries to decline Takumi's suggestion to relax and have some fun before her study group commences later. Miyabi kindly offers Ao the opportunity to borrow a swimsuit from the store where she works. Eventually, Ao gives in and agrees to enjoy a brief respite with Takumi. Meanwhile, Miyabi and Masaki stay behind, speculating about the nature of Ao and Takumi's relationship and wondering what they have planned next. Unbeknownst to them, Ao contemplates leaving the beach, but Takumi takes the initiative to move her lifebelt closer to the shore. Misinterpreting his gesture, she assumes he wants to prolong their time together and reminds her that she has a study group to attend shortly. Frustrated, she expresses her anger towards Takumi, inadvertently causing her swimsuit to come off. Just as this awkward situation unfolds, Miyabi and Masaki arrive and see them together. That night, Ao reflects on the events that transpired at the beach, contemplating their significance. Lost in her thoughts, she finds herself near a light pole, venting her frustration by unleashing a series of punches upon it. Returning home, determined to focus on her studies, Ao is interrupted by a text message from Takumi informing her about his soccer club's upcoming practice match. Ao swiftly replies, expressing her intention to prepare food for Takumi. The following morning, Ao embarks on the task of creating various dishes for Takumi. However, amidst her culinary endeavors, Enil manages to escape, unexpectedly latching onto Hanasaki as he retrieves the morning newspaper. Seeking retribution for the mishap, Hanasaki mischievously adds a secret ingredient to the eel's bowl. As Ao takes a well-deserved break, Sachiro kindly brews a cup of coffee. Later, at the park, Takumi's team experiences defeat, leaving him in a state of despondency. Determined to uplift his spirits, Ao approaches him, offering homemade food as a gesture of support. Meanwhile, their classmates depart for a karaoke outing. After consuming the food, Takumi's behavior takes an unexpected turn, and he begins to act strangely. However, upon realizing his actions, he abruptly stops. At this point, Ao candidly requests that Takumi cease confessing his feelings to her, drawing a clear boundary between them. At home, Ao finds herself consumed by regret after rejecting Takumi's advances. In her solitude, she engages in an unusual conversation with a mannequin, which was unexpectedly brought by Hanasaki as a peculiar gift for her. The atmosphere at school feels strange to Ao as she grapples with the aftermath of her decision. Masaki, noticing her somber demeanor, inquires about Takumi's reaction to the rejection. Seeking solace in her studies, Ao retreats to the comfort of her home. However, Sachiro, her tutor, broaches the subject and asks if she truly turned down Takumi. Despite her best efforts, Ao finds herself unable to suppress the utterance of his name. Sachiro, concerned for her well-being, confides in Hanasaki about Ao's evident melancholy. Later, as Ao returns to her room, Sachiro concludes their tutoring session and steps outside the house. To his surprise, he spots Takumi nearby, who expresses his desire to see Ao. Engaging in a heartfelt conversation, Takumi addresses the incident at school, admitting his concern for leaving her alone. Sensing Ao's longing, he tenderly kisses her forehead. Just before departing, Takumi extends an invitation to Ao, suggesting they study together. Misinterpreting his intention, Ao mistakenly believes that Takumi wishes to pursue a romantic relationship. During school, Ao's class engages in discussions about the upcoming school sports festival, and the various events they will organize. Overhearing a conversation, Ao learns that Takumi plans to participate in the festival. Back at home, Ao's enthusiasm is ignited, and she eagerly anticipates attending the festival. However, Hanasaki also expresses his desire to be present at the event. Ao, aware of the past fiascos that occurred whenever she participated in school festivals, tries to convince Hanasaki not to show up. These previous mishaps were often triggered by Hanasaki distributing his novels to everyone, leading to embarrassing situations. An argument ensues between Ao and Hanasaki, causing them to stop speaking to each other until the day of the festival arrives. At the festival grounds, Ao encounters Takumi, and she confides in him about her concerns regarding her father's behavior. Despite her worries, Ao decides to participate in one of the festival events. However, unintentionally, she steps on Hanasaki's back, which leads him to offer his support. As the event commences, Ao starts running, and Hanasaki impulsively blurts out her cup size, causing embarrassment. Later, Ao requests that Hanasaki refrain from appearing at their school. Later at school, Takumi invites Ao to study at his apartment over the weekend, so that evening, Ao looks through her phone and buys some new lingerie. The package arrives, and Hanasaki wants to get it, but Ao rushes to the door to grab the package. Hanasaki asks her what's inside, and she tells him it's for studying. Later, Ao arrives at Takumi's apartment to study. They study until Ao asks a math question, but Takumi doesn't get it. He asks Ao a question about who scores better on the quiz, and she thinks he wants to dare her. However, her mind wanders to more risque thoughts instead. Takumi mistakenly assumes that Ao has come up with an idea, and innocently suggests that she should make him a bento once again. Ao musters a reply, but unfortunately, she develops a sudden stomach ache and has to stay home, causing her to miss the school quiz. At an ice cream parlor, Ao pays a visit and drops by Miyabi's workplace. Curiosity piqued, she asks Miyabi about the concept of a kiss. Miyabi nearly demonstrates it right then and there, much to the attention of the onlookers. Meanwhile, Misaki approaches Takumi and inquires about his relationship with Ao. However, Ao's main focus remains on her studies rather than seeking amusement. Back at school, Ao acts strangely around Takumi until she musters the courage to mention Miyabi's query regarding their kissing status. Seizing the moment, Takumi leans in and kisses Ao. At home, Ao accidentally makes an excessive amount of tempura for Hanasaki, arousing suspicions from Sachiro regarding her peculiar behavior. At school, word spreads like wildfire about Takumi and Ao's kiss, causing embarrassment to overwhelm Ao, compelling her to flee the classroom. Takumi seeks out Misaki and Shuhei to discuss his feelings for Ao. And later, Takumi heads to the bookstore to find Ao, suggesting they walk to the train station together. Along the way, Takumi surprises Ao with another unexpected kiss, leaving her once again flustered and self-conscious. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.